DonInLondon, hello. March 3rd. Goodness me, this is the first quarter of the year. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, and I guess my behaviour also addictive around people, places and things over the years. And for several years now, practising sobriety just one day at a time. It's never the years which count, it's the day we live in which seems to be the answer and the key to living well. We can't live in the past, and if we're too far in the future, all we are doing is setting ourselves up for resentment. So often I've found. Anyway, what keeps me sober? The Fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't speak for it, never can, never will. AA is full of unique, authentic people who speak for themselves where they will. And tonight I'm just back from a meeting in Portobello, which is near Notting Hill, or part of Notting Hill, and it was a newcomers meeting, and the person doing the chair hopefully won't mind me saying they will be 31 years sober in 12 days time. But the message was very clear and very simple. How it was and how it is today, and how it was quite awful, and how it is today, sober again for one day, it's pretty darn good, even though we still have knocks, bangs and dings along the way. So plenty of good sharing from people who were very new or coming back from a slip, and me too. I got to speak and say how it was for me, that very last drink, how awful it was, and how odd it is I can still remember it so well. It wasn't the worst drunk in my life, it was just the one last one I needed to convince me that if I kept on doing it I'd be dead. And if I could be dead, then, well, why not try and live? Because it couldn't get any worse, I felt. It did. But then we learn that in sobriety too. We have our ups and downs at the extremes. And then we find somewhere in the middle where we normally reside, day by day. So what is AA? I share the AA preamble to give an idea and flavour of what it can do for us, and what it can't do for us, and what it doesn't do. So, Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So March is all about step 3 for me in the 12-step action program, and although we have a 12-step action program, it works in a unique and authentic way for each person, because each person has a unique and authentic way of living their lives. But we have one thing we have in common, a similarity to be sober today. So what is step 3? Well, it says here, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And from my video yesterday, the God of our understanding is a personal understanding, and whether we believe in God or not, whether we're atheist, agnostic or believer. And I suggest that we can be all three at different parts of our lives. And then we come to some conclusion, maybe on the last day we're on the planet. And then we find out, one way or another, into nothingness or something. So what about step 3? Well, I covered it yesterday, but in this little red book here, which I got hold of last year, I was quite interested what it had to say. So a little bit about step 3 from the little red book of AA, but I don't know if it's even an AA book. What matters is what keeps us sober one day at a time. So, as was mentioned tonight, whether we go to a meeting because we like the girls, or we like the boys, or we like the messages we're getting, or we like the tea or the coffee, or the fact that there is a 12-step program of action which makes us able to live our unique, authentic lives. Whatever gets us there and keeps us there on a daily basis, sharing hope. That's all it is. Experience, strength and hope of how to live well. And that doesn't mean it's always happy. So anyway, step 3 from the little red book. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him, or simply a power greater than us. So for me it's truth, love and wisdom. Truth, not my opinion, love, the foundation of everything, and wisdom, the experience of life. the lives of others and what we find out for ourselves. Step 3 identifies the spiritual illness of alcoholism and suggests a simple, effective remedy. Success with this or other steps is not a matter of chance, but of right thought and motive, practiced daily. So it's simply daily. It's never the years that matter. It's the day in which we live. Knowledge and treatment of our physical and mental health are vitally important to alcoholics, but lasting, contented sobriety is maintained only by surrender of our lives and will to God as we understand Him, or surrender to the truth, love and wisdom of the universe. However it works for you, it's worth a go. And we find it works because it's not about me and my will. It's about the world as it is and how I may be a part of it. Doesn't mean we have to kowtow to anybody. It just means we can be ourselves. And we can say, I don't feel like doing that, if we have good reason. Or we do feel like doing that because we have equally good reasons. The first 3 steps are a composite AA package, conceived of meditation and experience. They are a basic recovery prescription. Taken with proper timing and in correct proportion, they immediately arrest our alcoholic illness. In other words, we find out how not to live with a drink inside us. These steps complement each other, but they fail to work if any of them are omitted. So if we don't agree with step 1, that we are powerless over alcohol and life is unmanageable when we drink, or that we can be restored to sanity by wisdom, truth and love, then if we omit either of those, then the 3rd step is unlikely to work. Steps 1 and 2 are the premise upon which we decide to surrender our alcoholic lives to God, or good conscience. Step 3 calls for this decision. Honesty, faith and prayer spark our success. Honesty, faith and prayer spark our success. So it's a starting point. It's not an ending point. It's faith without works don't work. A complete knowledge of the physical, mental and spiritual injury we have suffered at the hands of John Barleycorn, better known as alcohol, is indispensable to the honest, far-reaching decision we wish to take or to make. Deliberation born of necessity and a desperate need for help will inspire us to seek our understanding of God, whether it's based on our religion or no religion or simply good conscience. Now, I do emphasize all of them work because it's not us. It's a power greater than us. It's the wisdom of the universe, or it's the wisdom of the community in which we live. It's being able to open ourselves up to the world and let it in and make sense of it, rather than trying to make the world we want the way we want it to be. It's getting rid of self-obsession and ego and settling down into faith, courage and confidence. Our great need is loss of self-centeredness and alcoholic obsession. AA pioneers discovered their answers to these problems as they developed spiritual understanding and relied upon God's help for recovery. Each of us has the same possibilities if we are honest, humble and willing enough to work them out. Step 3 offers no compromise for reservation or delay. It calls for a decision, here and now. How we surrender our alcoholic personality defects to God. That is, for me, fear, putting on a brave face and living on brittle ego and fueling it with alcohol is of no immediate concern. It's saying, yeah, I've got that problem. And then what do I do about it? So it's into action. The important point is our willingness to try. Faith in practice of the 12 steps opens the way to understanding of God and provides ways of giving our lives to Him. And I for one, find that very acceptable in the sense of nature and providence and being a part of community, family, society. However it is, we stop battling against it and find a way to live in it and make the best of the freedoms we have, wherever we are. When we have made this crucial decision, our attitude changes rapidly from negative to wholesome, constructive thinking. We lose our uncertainty and fear. Strife and rebellion disappear. And of course, stubborn, defiant and rebellious was what made me feel right about myself for a long time, because I just didn't like what I saw. That is the way society was, and I wasn't in control of it. Somehow we seem to gain a vague understanding of God's will for us. This understanding may be small, but it is all we need to start with. It comes slowly at first. In other words, why not try and see how I might fit in some interesting way, find myself, be unique, authentic, and deal with this similar imposition which alcohol caused and its addiction. Members who have accepted and practiced step 3 know the value of turning the defects of their alcoholic lives over to the care of God as they understand Him. Faith in His help and willingness to try AA spiritual practices will convert our weaknesses to great spiritual strength and understanding. Contented sobriety, the central purpose in our lives, is not earned without self-sacrifice and God's help. And what time is it now? I've just gone over 11 minutes and I've got the other videos to add on. So I'm going to leave it there, but what it says there, faith in His help and willingness to try AA spiritual practices will convert our weaknesses, that's fear, brave facing and ego, to great spiritual strength and understanding. And for me, spiritual strength and understanding comes from courage, confidence and faith in next right actions. So whatever we call God in our lives, and for me, God, the Word, always bothered me somewhat, and it doesn't anymore, because God is truth, the absolute truth, not my opinion. God is love, learning to love myself and other people, and I needed to learn how to love myself enough to forgive the behaviour. So this is how I understand life. I can love people and still hate their behaviour, as I did, and I can forgive them and I can forgive myself because I know better now. I know how to get out of that malady. But it's not me preaching to anybody else, it's just learning how to live. Be forgiving of behaviour, which can be changed, and still have love for people. So we don't diminish people ever. We still love them, even if we hate their behaviour. And it's how we share our outlook in a way which is practical, not to undermine people or ourselves, but just to be level with the world. So that's me on that one for tonight, and I'll just end with the Serenity Prayer on each and every segment of these videos, because it's important to me. So to God or good conscience or truth, love and wisdom, whatever it comes out as your unique, authentic understanding of the higher power, which is knowledge, experience, hope from others mainly, and love. Serenity can be found, even in the hardest of times. So to God of good conscience, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference has been all day long. Alcohol could have been anything. Only got as far as alcohol, really, in any sort of obsessive way. And behaviour, definitely obsessive. Work, relationships, trying to be perfect, because that's what I thought I ought to be. Of course, never perfect, and always striving and striving, but to a point which was at an extreme. So extreme behaviour, extreme outcomes, extreme feelings. So when drinking, I guess balance went out the window, and I was able to feel things, whereas before I only felt fear or emptiness, or didn't know how to feel at all. Somehow I lost that ability to learn early on how to not overcome feelings, but actually live feelings rather than actually endure feelings. So something not quite right in my education, if you like, but that's nobody's fault. That's just the way I grew up. We're not all gifted with an understanding of life. I don't think anybody is, but some of us take it to extremes. So from that first drink, it took the edge off me, made me feel happier, relaxed, joyful, and sad, but it was always at the extremes of these feelings, because there was never any balance. So these days, with a little help from my friends, and family, and community, and professionals, I keep a more even balance, one day at a time. So what is this friends element which helps me more than anything? Because sober, if I'm sober, then the rest of life is working It's working as it can be, as life is, as my life experience is, happy or sad, trudging this road of happy or unhappy destiny, full of potholes, puddles, you name it. We have life experience. And I was never much of a joiner when it came to being a part of. I guess I was a bit of a loner in many respects, because I didn't understand me or life particularly. So from a hardened drinker to a dependent drinker to an addicted drinker, or addicted beyond belief. And it broke me. And in the breaking of me, and it took a long, long time, I suddenly found that I could not live life on my own, and I couldn't find the answers on my own. So it was a bit of a hard shock. So from waking up every morning not wanting to wake up, to suddenly realising it couldn't get any worse. And if I looked for help or asked for help to try and resolve this issue of addiction, or at least understand what recovery is, just being in recovery one day at a time, with an illness which won't go away and is easy to go back to, as easy as a blink of an eye, I seem to be on track on a daily basis in recovery. And the people who help me most understand how to live in sobriety, once having got there, is a fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Coming back to recovery, fellowship, AA, the fellowship of AA keeps me on track day at a time. And I share the statement of intent about AA here, a little bit about the daily reflections for today from the AA literature and what's impacting on my life at the moment. So, and also that it's the fellowship has a 12-step program. Most of you know this if you're watching, about how to change our attitude and behaviour. So this month, March, is all about step 3, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But the AA statement of intent, and it reads like this: Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And in that, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. And the AA tradition which goes with that is tradition 3, which reads: the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. So there is only one qualification, if you like, or our own personal acceptance that if we want to be a part of, we can, because we don't want to drink today. And we don't need to. And that was the greatest gift that somebody said to me in my early days. Well, you don't actually need to drink, do you? All you need to do is learn how to live life. And the gift is, once we start to understand that sober is okay, and that drink, having been our best friend which got us so far, is no longer our best friend, it's killing us, then we have an opportunity to make a choice. That is, to try out sober. What's it like to be sober? And do you know what? It's wonderful and horrible. Life is an oxymoron. It's wonderfully horrible. That's how it is. So this month, the step 3 for March, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. So 2 big problems for me with this step and the tradition of 3. First, I had to join a fellowship when I didn't want to join anything, and then find out that I was not so different from everybody else. Certainly wasn't special and different, but I thought I was. All I found out was I'm unique, authentic on my life path. Unique, authentic in one sense that it's only what I've got. But I'm not special and different, and the similarities were so shockingly true when it came to trying to find recovery that I was in a bind and I couldn't get out of it on my own. And here was a bunch of people with wisdom beyond my experience, and hundreds of years between them of being sober. What a gift. And this thing of God got me interested, because I wanted my own God, or my own personal understanding, which was going to be more improved and better than anybody else's. And what I've come to understand is that God is beyond definition. But there are 6.5 billion people on this planet with their own understanding of what God is or isn't. So it doesn't matter what other people think, it's how I understand a power greater than me. for help, assistance and guidance. So fellowship, full of help, assistance and guidance, a higher power for me. The truth of living is often a higher power than me, because I'm learning what the truth is as I encounter it right now. So the truth is now. And God is love. Well, absolutely. As an understanding, a concept, an idea, God is love. God works through people, and God is truth. It makes it easier for me to live life in harmony and learn from what is around me, people, places and things. So I'm very, very fortunate. Anyway, today's reading in Daily Reflections, this one, which is very apt and pertinent to what I've just said. It says, overcoming self-will. So our troubles, we think, are basically of our own making. They arise out of ourselves, and the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will run riot. That's my self-will ran riot, because it didn't know what else to do once addicted. Although he doesn't usually think so. Above everything, we alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. We must, or it kills us, and that's what alcohol was doing to me. I thought I could overcome it, but I couldn't. For so many years, my life revolved solely around myself. I was consumed with self in all forms: self-centeredness, self-pity, self-seeking, all of which stemmed from pride, or trying to be perfect. Today I have been given the gift, through the fellowship of AA, of practicing the steps and traditions in my daily life, of my group and sponsor, and the capacity, if I so choose, to put my pride aside in all situations which arise in my life. Until I could honestly look at myself and see that I was the problem in many situations and react appropriately inside and out, until I could discard my expectations and understand that my serenity was directly proportional to them, I could not experience serenity and sound sobriety. So where it says about expectations, if I set them to zero and then see what the day holds, I have a much better opportunity not to resent anything and to be surprised by what happens. So my time is just about up, and apologies for the gas man utilities being red in the middle. The Serenity Prayer, which helps me on a daily basis just to keep on track, and in the moment of now, to God or to good conscience, the one of your understanding, which is so important. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, for me, is just for today. All about AA. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supported through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And as I talk about AA a lot, I need to refresh myself and others that I do not speak for AA. I speak for myself, and it's quite important on YouTube to represent myself as I am, one ordinary human being in recovery from being addicted to alcohol. And the reason why it was alcohol was it was legal to buy it, and I suspect I was too afraid to take my addictions further, simply because I feared being found out even more. And I've had one or two comments which I do appreciate greatly, and I also do appreciate the concern others show for my sobriety and also for the steps and traditions of AA. And the steps and traditions of AA are merely suggestions, and the suggestion has been made that I may be violating these suggestions in some way. So violating a word does not really go with a suggestion. So in some ways I can understand that people are concerned that if I fell off the water wagon, I might actually be a bad example of recovery. But until that happens, or even if it did happen, if I am open, honest and willing, like the program suggests,
then being open, honest and willing means that I must share my upside and the downside. So for the last few years I've been sober, and if I have a relapse, I need promptly admit it and get on with the main thing, which is finding recovery again and understanding why I had that lapse in the first place. But it's really important to remember, especially in early days when we're fighting ourselves as much as trying to understand the rest of the world, we are bound in some ways to lapse, and it's very, very few and far between that people come to AA and then are perfectly sober for the rest of their lives. So my view is this: if we're open, honest and willing and understand that this is a program of recovery and redemption, that we need to find forgiveness when we get it wrong and if we have a lapse, and get back into the program as quickly and swiftly as we may. Or we stay buried in shame and guilt and worry about what other people might be thinking. And that is the problem with the person who is complaining or has complained to me about me sharing these videos. If I'm not truthful, if I don't show all aspects of recovery, the up and downs of it, then it would be unrealistic. And the most realistic way for bringing people on board is to say we are human, and human beings don't always get it right. And I know from my experience and my way into recovery that I had many, many difficult years, I guess, not succeeding, and then finally succeeding to get a fairly good period of sobriety. So what I'm saying is, I don't violate traditions and steps when they are merely suggestions, and it is not a tradition issue, really, when we look at these videos. They're a personal exploration of recovery. And, should AAs let people know who they are? Or rather, should I, as a person, say I'm in the fellowship of AA and not be worried about it? Or should I cover my face and use a curtain and hide behind it and be worried about what other people might think? Similarly, AA as an organisation needs anonymity to provide sanctuary in the rooms of AA, so people may find their truth. And in truth, the more we actually say we're an organisation of people trying our best to be sober one day only, is that not a better message than saying, don't tell anybody you're in AA? So, I have a conflicting set of ideas and understandings around some of these traditions. And what is the spiritual foundation of living? Well, my answer is to find the truth of me. And in the truth of me, I need to let people see the good and bad sides of me. And how else would they help me if they didn't know me? So, it's a very complicated set of worries. And there is a stigma attached to addiction. And it can't be remedied unless people know and understand what an addict is trying to do. So, this is why I do these videos. And this is why I'm here on YouTube trying my best to talk about recovery. So, for tomorrow, March 4th, the daily readings and the Daily Reflections book, written by AA people for AA people, March 4th. Weeding the Garden. The essence of all growth is a willingness to make a change for the better, and then an unremitting willingness to shoulder whatever responsibility this entails. And that comes from As Bill Sees It, page 115. Goes on to say, by the time I'd reached step 3, I had been freed of my dependence on alcohol, but bitter experience has shown me that continuous sobriety requires continuous effort. Every now and then I pause to take a good look at my progress. More and more of my garden is weeded each time I look, but each time I also find new weeds sprouting where I thought I had made my final pass with the blade. As I head back to get the newly sprouted weed, it's easier when they are young. I take a moment to admire how lush the growing vegetables and flowers are, and my labours are rewarded. My sobriety grows and bears fruit. And that sort of reminds me of the film with the late Peter Sellers in, called Being With, and he was a gardener, and the way of looking at the world is really to keep on flourishing, I guess, and finding the right path and sorting out the weeds on the way. And coming on to what As Bill Sees It, this book. All these books available at any AA meeting, and all these readings are on a search. You can look in the search engine on the internet and find them under AA Daily Readings. So they're out there. So if you don't get it this time, go have a look there. Page 91, Courage and Prudence. When fear persisted, we knew it for what it was, and when we became able to handle it, we began to see each adversity as a God-given opportunity to develop the kind of courage which is born of humility rather than bravado. And this is about step 6 and 7, as well as step 3. Prudence is a workable middle ground, a channel of clear sailing between the obstacles of fear on the one side and of recklessness on the other. Prudence in practice creates a definite climate, the only climate in which harmony, effectiveness, and consistent spiritual progress can be achieved. Prudence is rational concern without worry. And you know what we are sort of aiming at is a sort of, in my understanding, and somebody said it in a meeting in their chair, looking to be profoundly ordinary and the spiritual path. You know, it's life as it is on real terms, and being able to see it so. Without those filters and denials we can often put in the way via alcohol. So the spiritual path is not something special, although it is special because we're all treading it every single day. So when we get the downside of spiritual, it means we understand the upside and the more joyful part of living as well. So you can't have spiritual which is just purely joyful. Spiritual is just as bad as it gets and as good as it gets. And as usual, I've just checked the time, and I cannot do the 24-hour-a-day book reading because there isn't time on this particular occasion. So where can you get this information? AA Daily Readings. Well, if you put AA Daily Readings into any search engine, you will find that they are all there. All the things I've been talking about are freely available on the internet, and they are freely available to buy. You have to purchase them in the rooms of AA where they have a literature counter. So for tonight, I do wish you all well, and thank you for those who are not sure about whether I'm following the suggestions as they are laid down, or in fact if they are rules and regulations which can be violated. I sincerely hope that I'm not violating anything, and I keep to the suggestions which open the door to recovery for anyone and everyone. More another time.